between Chinese, Hindus, Buddhists, and Christian, at least 6.5 billion people are idol worshippers that according to the Torah do not have the right to live. Idol worshipper goy, it's death penalty. Not only Jews, even a goy who bow down to an idol, who believe in JC, deserve death penalty.
Israel was built by the Freemasons, by the way, by the Zionists. There's nothing here kosher. All the founders of the country of Israel are Freemasons.
שימו סיפור. כל אורח שבא מחו"ל, אני מראה לו את ראש החץ הזה. שכפול של ראש חץ רומאי מהקרב ביודפת. יודפת הייתה המבצר הראשון בגליל שנפל לרומאים, אחר כך גם אחר כך ירושלים, חורבן גדול. ואני אומר להם, זה הרומאים, הם כבר לא פה. זה החץ שלהם, זה החץ שלנו. גיל החץ, הכי משוכלל בעולם. עכשיו אני מראה להם עוד דבר. חץ אחר. זה המזרק שאני קיבלתי בו את החיסון הראשון ממיליוני החיסונים שהבאנו לארץ. אנחנו נהיה המדינה הראשונה בעולם שתצא מהקורונה. ממונה.
זה החיסון הראשון. יפה. אתן יכולות להתחיל להכין את החיסון שר הבריאות? זה הספורטי? כן. שר, אתה מוכן?
And we need to talk about bioweapons. I know a lot now about bioweapons because I've been doing a book on it for the past 2.5 years, and the races that are most immune to COVID-19 are because of genetic differentials among different races of the ACE2 receptor. COVID-19 is targeted to attack Caucasians and black people. The people who are most immune are Ashkenazi Jews and Chinese. But we don't know whether it was deliberately targeted that or not. But there are papers out there that show the racial and ethnic differential impact to that. We do know that the Chinese are spending hundreds of millions of dollars developing ethnic bioweapons, and we are developing ethnic bioweapons. That's what all those labs in the Ukraine are about. They're collecting Russian DNA, they're collecting Chinese DNA, so that we can target people.
So you really need to understand that technology is at a point that it's barely comprehensible, right? It's basically movie status where technology is. If you watch one of my documentaries, I talk about it a lot, but one of them it's called Synthetic Schizophrenia and DARPA Demons. You can see that on our Rumble. It gets into the technology that they have. But one of the best examples is actually in a movie. This specific movie is James Bond, the last one that came out. I'm going to play you a few clips, but just keep in mind they put the truth in movies, so that way your subconscious and conscious mind, if you're asleep, it's going to be your conscious mind, but always your subconscious, whether you're awake or not, and it programs you into thinking that these things aren't real because you saw it in a movie first, right? Take a look at these few clips, they tell you in movies, and then we're going to get on with the rest of the video.
Talk. Will this sample be enough for you?
If he has used it, yes. It is now progressing. Sorry. Terrible love. So slippery. Forgive me.
How much longer?
Aha. To happy new future for Spectre. No, it is ready.
see before my little eye. My little eye says hi. Now see. Now. We emerge from the shadows as gods on Mount Olympus. Here's to the end of our pariah. Oh, my bird, my brother. He can't run. It's too late. It's already crawling under your skin. Don't be alarmed. It's harmless to us, just to him. Don't be...
It is working. It is working. Only Spectre are dying.
Who's dead? All of them. Good. What is this? Explain it to me.
I don't have the words to describe to someone like you.
Try one.
It's perfect.
A perfect what?
What is assassin?
Thank you, Bond. Your mission's done. We can.
Why didn't it kill me?
You don't have to answer those questions, Bond.
Why Spectre?
Bond, please stop asking these
Quiet!
questions.
Speak up.
Because you were never the intended target.
He was a target? Why?
I changed the DNA like we decided. Now the plan is complete and
whoa.
confused.
Who is we?
He is not allowed to do
M
this.
make you build this?
He is out of line here, Felix.
Did M
Ash.
order you to kill Spectre?
Don't answer that.
Is M behind this?
He is out of line.
Felix! Ash! Shut your mouth!
M helped me build it. But please, he does not have the vision.
Well, who does?
To use
Who
it.
does? Blofeld? How did he know I was going to be there?
If you have information, I'd be happy to receive it.
Get me into Belmarsh.
No, Blofeld's the only member of Spectre still breathing. I can't risk that.
Oh, but you will risk developing a DNA targeting weapon with a corrupt scientist for 10 years?
There was nothing to suggest that Obruchev was working for anyone else. I had him down.
My God, you're thirsty at the moment.
Q has studied the blood samples I gathered from the victims of the funeral. Just look at this.
And what are we looking at?
This is the funeral of one of the dead Spectre agents from Cuba.
And here are the members of their family who made physical contact with the corpse. We found Heracles in the blood samples of all of them.
No, that's good work, Naomi.
Thank you, sir. 00 what?
What are they?
They're nanobots.
Right.
Microscopic biorobots that can enter your system by the slightest contact with your skin. Programmed with DNA to target specific individuals. Heracles was... It was designed to be the most efficient weapon in our arsenal, passing through people harmlessly before reaching its intended target.
But Obruchev modified the nanobots so that they can kill anyone related to the target.
Anyone?
Well, since it's DNA-based with further modifications, yes. Families, certain genetic traits, single nucleotide variants and polymorphisms that could target a range from individuals to whole ethnicities. You infect enough people...
And the people become the weapon. It was never intended to be a weapon of mass destruction. It was...
He's dead. It's a good thing you're not actually related, or you'd be dead too.
How do I get this off?
Oh, you don't. You can't. Nanobots aren't just for Christmas. Once Heracles is in your system, it's there forever.
Right, this is QDAR. We'll map the space as you move through it. Don't touch that. And Smart Blood. We'll track you and your vitals. Bond, you don't mind a shot or two whilst at work, shall we?
Well, I haven't had a drink for 3 or 4 hours.
Wow. Doesn't sound like you. Ow!
Good.
I assume you know how the stealthy bird works?
No, no idea.
Gravity.
Some of these plants are very dangerous, but not all of them are for hurting people. I have plants that can do all sorts of things.
Betty!
This one makes you do as you're told. So you never misbehave, and you're always good. You mustn't misbehave, Mathilde.
Bond. Bond, there's something big up ahead. I can't...
These walls must be thick.
Bond. Bond? 007, do you read me?
We've lost them.
They've entered a blind spot, so I can't work out what it is they've walked into.
No, just get them back.
Well, will you look at those doors?
This is a missile silo.
Right. Let's go.
Everybody, over there! In the corner, now!
What?
Move!
How?
This is suicide mission. Come on. You will never leave this island alive. Oh.
That was the farm.
And this is the factory. They're mass producing it.
Naomi, come and look at this.
Well, look, you cannot stop it, mister. We have big plan, you know. We have big...
What is it?
It's a simulation. They're not just attacking individuals.
They're going to kill millions.
It will not fit in a suitcase this time, lady.
He's really getting my help.
I do not need a laboratory to exterminate your entire race from the face of the earth.
Do you know what time it is?
What?
Time to die.
Now the crazy part is, Israel itself has a massive connection and influence in both James Bond and the vaccine. So take a look at this article. This is them admitting their influence in the whole James Bond history. Now let's get into some uncomfortable topics. Obviously we're going to get into Israel and its connection to the vaccine, which is a lot bigger than I thought it was. It originates in our military, really, and then I guess above that it starts in Israel. And then of course we're going to have to touch base on the self-proclaimed king of the vaccine. So just sit back, let's get into this, check these clips out, and you be the judge.
A small little company that reached out to the Third Reich and said, hey, we need 150 participants for our clinical trial. The Nazi regime shipped 150 healthy Jewish women to this pharmaceutical company to test its products. Literally, within 6 months, there's letters back to the Third Reich from this pharmaceutical company saying, thank you so much for your cooperation. The women arrived in great health and working order. Unfortunately, none of them made it through the initial phases of our trial. They killed 150 women. We kindly request that you send us another 150 women. That little company became Bayer, which is now a mega pharmaceutical company. And I say that...
The medical revolution is in full swing. All fields of medicine are changing, improving, renewing. The past year showed us that the growing need for innovative technologies used in developing more precise, personalized medicines and treatments is already becoming reality. Among the leaders of this revolution is Israel.
The Israeli high-tech environment is one of the leading environments or ecosystems that can enable this.
We have some of the best scientists in the world.
People think outside the box and look for creative solutions to problems.
Yes, Israel is an international center of innovation with groundbreaking technologies in health, in cyber, in smart transportation, and alternative energy. Israeli innovation in the field of personalized medicine combines biology and engineering. It's called bioconvergence. What exactly is bioconvergence?
Biomics is the only clinical phage company out there that targets chronic indication. We deploy phage, which are viruses that infect specific bacteria.
NanoRetina developed a small camera that is implanted inside a patient's eye. Our technology translates light and optical signals into electrical pulses that enables vision to the patient.
The technology that we have developed is under the title bioconvergence.
We have chemistry, engineering, biology, immunology.
ScienceBio biofabricates tissues from human cells. We take 3D printing and we combine this together with the biology, which essentially brings us the capability to fabricate the tissue in the same anatomical structure as it is in the human body.
And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because when you're able to collaborate with multidisciplinary capabilities like ICT, big data, machine learning, and artificial intelligence, then you can create integrative, creative, and innovative medical solutions.
The Israel Innovation Authority creates national and international networks and provide with funding to initiate projects.
Many of Israel's startup nation streams parallel Jefferson streams.
Because of Israel's exceptional innovation ecosystem, we've developed a series of creative partnerships across a spectrum of Israeli institutions.
So let me ask you a question. If Israel is at the forefront of bioconvergence, with the world's most advanced technologies and some of the world's leading medical research centers, and when $40 billion worth of worldwide profits from medicine stem from Israeli inventions, can you afford not to be here?
The Jews were behind the invention and creation of these COVID vaccines that are going to save humanity now. It was Jewish brains that created these two COVID vaccines. The Moderna vaccine, the chief medical officer in charge of research and development is the Israeli scientist Tal Zaks. Pfizer, who's the CEO of Pfizer? Albert Bourla, who is a Greek Jew. And the chief Pfizer scientist is Mikael Dolsten, a Jew from Sweden. The Jews were in charge of the research, the science. They were the scientists. They're the main researchers. Both COVID vaccines that are now going to rescue humanity, both were created by Jews.
The Jews were behind the creation of these COVID vaccines that are going to save humanity now.
Over the last century, the human race has made tremendous strides in healthcare, driving forward the quality and length of life on this planet we call home. Despite these extraordinary advancements and scientific breakthroughs, there are massive burdens on our healthcare systems, and we still find ourselves treating the symptoms rather than the disease. These challenges require a more holistic approach. Bioconvergence is where nature and science intersect, where advancements in biology and technology can unlock the door to things like personalized medicine and organ regeneration. As the leading bioconvergence company, CellLink offers exactly that. Technologies, systems, materials, and expertise in the key areas of the bioconvergence revolution equip researchers to answer the most pressing questions and enable this brighter future. CellLink provides the tools for a bioconvergence workflow from early-stage development to large-scale manufacturing. Such tools provide the potential to help doctors customize cancer treatment through omics-based tumor profiling, miniaturized drug delivery, and tissue replacement. The potential to enable the regeneration of neurons and tissues for treatments that can change lives. The potential to measure the activity of a patient's muscles and brain as they go about their daily lives for early detection of neurological diseases such as Parkinson's. By democratizing advanced research tools, we provide researchers with a fresh perspective to find answers and empower them to leverage the potential of precision engineering, automation, and artificial intelligence. This will propel us forward to the future, a future where personalized medicine is no longer a dream, but a reality. Join us on this journey to create the future of medicine.
You don't hear a peep out of any of these officials telling people, hey folks, you've got to lose weight. This is very important.
Yep. No, this is right.
We look at the numbers of people that are obese that catch COVID. It's very high.
I mean, you took the horse dewormer and everything? I thought that would kill you too.
You know what's
I mean, you
interesting?
look like a horse now. I don't know what happened.
And then
CNN told me.
Yeah, CNN never lies. It's one treatment option. This is it, the vaccine. This is one binary option, and that's how people are looking at it. And they're not taking into consideration all these other points of data that show that obesity is a factor, that diet and exercise are a factor, that vitamin supplementation is a factor. There's a lot of factors that are involved in keeping your body healthy. They don't work exactly how they were advertised. The original take on the vaccine was this is going to be 95% effective, and there's an extremely rare incidence of a breakthrough case, and even in those cases, you're going to be fine. I know 15 fucking people that have had breakthrough cases. They're not rare at all, especially not after 5-6 months, and then with variants, you know? And so the idea is that you're going to be able to give it to other people. But if the vaccines were effective, that wouldn't be a problem.
Probably 6 or 7 years old, I decided I wanted to fly. Started pilot training in the Air Force, and I ended up 31, almost 32 years as a commercial pilot. I got the vaccine because I was mandated to get the vaccine. It was a term of employment as no ifs, ands, or buts. That came down on high as a result of President Biden's vaccine mandate for federal contractors. I weighed the concept, I weighed the idea of, refusing it, but I'm the sole source of income for my family. I got a really strange sensation, a really odd pain that just kind of came out of nowhere. I said, I must have pulled a muscle or a nerve or something like that. That's really odd. We landed, we taxied to the gate. All I got up was get my bags to get ready to clear the aircraft. I collapsed. That's all I remember. Suddenly, no warning, no precursor, nothing, just literally out. Fortunately, we had a Navy corpsman and an RN that were deplaning. They rendered immediate assistance. They commenced CPR because I had no heartbeat, was not breathing. The paramedics had been called out for a completely unrelated smoke alarm issue to a very near aircraft, and I received 3 shocks from the AED. I woke up the next day in the ICU, wondering what just happened.
What would have happened had you had gone into cardiac arrest 10 minutes earlier?
We would not be having this interview.
They just wouldn't have gotten to you in time?
No, absolutely not. I was hoping to teach my daughter to fly. She wants to be a pilot. That will probably never happen. It's tragic. I can watch her take off. I can watch her land. I can watch her going through moments of, that I should be there watching, but I can't be there.
What's your reaction when people say, yeah, but it's a very small number of people that have any reaction to the vaccine?
What's an acceptable number for collateral damage? What number is acceptable to you, the harm? Is there 10%, 5%, 10 people, 100 people? How much tragedy is acceptable to you? Anybody, any of us could be collateral damage. It's just so impersonal. But they've made it personal for me. My goal now is to be the best dad that I can be, best husband that I can be, and to use my voice as it's been given to me to try to get the word out and get at least people to try to acknowledge or at least, question what they're being told.
I want you to put your hand up if you say yes to this question. I was not given adequate information about the potential risks of the vaccine.
So in July, Undersecretary Cisneros acknowledged the DMED data, the database working properly, and also acknowledged things such as myocarditis rising 151%. So what I did, I went in today, I'm doing the same thing, 5-year average, however I'm comparing it to 2022, and I only am using fixed wing pilots and helicopter pilots, active duty. So we get hypertensive disease, 36%, Ischemic heart disease, 69%. Pulmonary heart disease, 62%. Heart failure, 973%. Other forms of heart disease, 63%. Cardiomyopathy, 152%.
I am very pro-vaccine. This is not a vaccine. This is essentially a gene therapy. They've changed the term what a vaccine means because of this. You know that, right?
Yeah, no. The mRNA is a relatively new technology compared to the way they used to do vaccines, yes.
It's relatively new, and there's no long-term safety data. It doesn't exist. And we're in the middle of, obviously, it's important to do something, right? And so we're essentially in the middle of an experiment. This is a long-term experiment with people, and we're going to find out whether it's 5 years from now or 10 years from now. But if you look at the vast majority of FDA-approved drugs, if you look at all of them, like out of the, who knows how many thousands of drugs have been approved, do you know how many have been pulled out once they found out there's adverse side effects after years and years of use? It's fucking nuts. For most people, safe and effective. So was Vioxx. I have a friend who had a stroke from Vioxx, and he was in his 30s.
Okay. Wow.
There have been 12,787 drug recalls issued by the FDA. On average, 1,279 drugs are recalled every year.
Remember, there was a 3-month lockdown that starved allopathic medicine, big medicine, of any money. They became desperate.
I said, "What are you giving her?" And they said, "Remdesivir." And I said, "Why are you giving that to her? She told you not to give that to her." And they said, "Well, it's our protocol."
And I knew what was happening. They were getting remdesivir, the drug that some nurses call run death is near, and that was shutting down their kidneys.
And they said, "I will let your priest come in if you agree to remdesivir."
There was a huge financial gain for the hospitals when these patients would die early into the treatment, and they were dying within a day or two of being on these protocols.
They immediately put them on remdesivir, and as soon as they put them on that, everything started to go downhill.
After a few doses, it'll cause kidney failure and liver failure, and you fill up with fluid, and then you're sentenced to a respirator, and then you end up in the morgue.
As soon as he gets remdesivir, within 24 hours, everything starts plummeting. If they see the full 2 weeks, they will make less money. If the patient is able to die faster, you make more money if you look at just the economics of that.
Understand this. We don't know what the fuck is going to happen in 10 years.
Well,
we don't know.
But that's why it was always, for me, about relative risk of COVID versus whatever you think the risks might be of the vaccine, which is why for people who are old, you really needed to get it. If you're 65 and up, it was you do whatever you have to do to get it. And then once it got to lower ages, it was like, use your own best judgment.
And I encourage my parents to get vaccinated. I encourage people that are in high-risk groups to get vaccinated. What kind of rational basis could you give when you're looking at the incredibly low mortality rates when it's children? And not only that, the children that have died, I think
they're all unhealthy, virtually all. Yeah, according to Marty McCary, who's my guy on this over at Johns Hopkins University, the epidemiologist, he says grand total, the entire pandemic, the number of kids who have died who are healthy is between 10 and 20. Over the course of the entire pandemic, 700,000 people have died in the United States. That's kids under 18, by the way. That's not 5-year-olds. That's kids under 18, 10 to 20. Okay, that's a subgroup of 73 million people in the United States.
So why the push?
This is why your doctor gets aggressive. Blue Cross and Blue Shield pays your doctor a $40,000 bonus for fully vaccinating 100 patients under the age of 2. If your doctor manages to fully vaccinate 200 patients, that bonus jumps to $80,000. But here's the catch. Under the Blue Cross Blue Shield rules, pediatricians lose their whole bonus unless at least 63% of their patients are fully vaccinated, and that includes the flu vaccine. So it's not just $400 on your child's head. It could be the whole bonus. To your doctor, your decision to vaccinate your child might be worth $40,000 or much more, depending on the size of his or her practice. Waking up. They're not pushing these vaccinations because they're safe for you. They're pushing these vaccinations because they want a fatter wallet.
They tried to censor us. They tried to cancel us. We lost jobs. We lost friends. We lost family. We got called conspiracy theorists. But then we realized that we are not alone. The others were also seeing what we were seeing, that we weren't crazy. So we started to speak up, one by one. We showed others that it was okay to speak the truth. We stopped being afraid. We found new friends. We found new purpose. And many of us realized what was happening was bigger than just us. Many of us have gone through our own dark night of the soul the past few years. This dark night existed to help us shed false parts of ourselves and return us to our true selves. Many of us have gone through a rebirth process lately. America and many other countries in the world are also going through a rebirth too, because as within, so without. It has a purpose. The night is always darkest before the dawn, and instead of your great reset, we are having a great awakening.
The bioweapon that was released on us, the vaccines, that needs to be communicated effectively in the new administration that something bad happened.
Many of us would like to see justice for the millions murdered by the nanotech-infected shots. But don't hold your breath. If approved, our next cabinet will include, as administrator for Medicare and Medicaid, Dr. Oz, a television personality who pushed implantable chips, transgenderism for kids, and pushed the deadly COVID vaccines repeatedly.
Should people have their children vaccinated?
Definitely yes.
Definitely yes.
Definitely yes. As a doctor, even I'm in awe of the incredible advances made in search of a COVID-19 vaccine. Never in the history of mankind has a vaccine been developed at this speed. But just because we're moving fast doesn't mean we're moving unsafely. We're cutting red tape, not cutting corners. I trust the science and the scientists behind these COVID-19 vaccines, and you should too.
What can you do after you get the COVID vaccine?
If approved, Marco Rubio will be our new Secretary of State. He pushed the vaccine and boasted that Operation Warp Speed was a huge success.
Can say a lot of things about the way America responded to the pandemic in the early days, but the one thing that's without dispute is that no one has done vaccines better than the United States. I mean, look around the world and look here. And look at the fact that right now, basically, at this point, if you're 12 years of age or older and you want a vaccine, you can get one.
Every Sunday, I put all of her supplements that are dry in the pills, so the powders and the pills, into boxes that are labeled Monday through Sunday. And then in the morning, I add the formula and then the whatever day it is into the blender and blend it up. And then after that, I put it into her feeding bag, which is used with her pump. And then that is how she gets her nutrition for the day. You okay? Where's the...
I'm able to work from home because somebody's got to be here for Maddie. Transfer her to the bathroom, get her up, take her for walks, just anything. And just hanging out with her because her friend circle has shrunk. It's just mainly I want to be there for her emotionally. Like it's just her and me all day.
If approved, Tulsi Gabbard will be the Director of National Intelligence. She helped get all the older people vaccinated early on.
3 weeks ago, I urged our leaders to put those over 65 years of age at the front of the line for vaccinations alongside healthcare workers and first responders. Now, today I'm happy to report that the Department of Health and Human Services has now agreed to this strategy. So if you or your loved ones are 65 or over, you will now be able to get the vaccine if the leaders of your state comply with these recommendations.
Would always come outside. She was my nature girl. And
She did gymnastics. She played volleyball, constantly moving. She would do cartwheels in the stores, TikTok dances.
So what was it that made you want to do the vaccine trial?
My brother's friend mentioned it, and then my brother wanted to do it, and then, you know, there's like benefits. Well, at the time I thought.
Like what?
Because, well, obviously I would be one of the first people and I would be helping, and you also get money, so but not that much.
All three of our kids were in the trial. Our middle son, Lucas, he ended up getting the placebo. Gabe got the 1 dose, and then he didn't get the 2nd dose because he got COVID. And then Maddie got both doses.
She got off the bus, she was screaming in pain, screaming, hunched over, holding her back.
Maddie,
you know, my heart's coming out of my chest.
It's like I can't get out of it.
All right, hey.
He called me at work, and he's like, Maddie's having some sort of reaction to the vaccine. I called the trial line. I'm waiting for them to call back, and then in the background, I hear her yelling. Her fingers were white and very cold in her toes. She was walking with her feet up, like, because they were so painful. She had told us that she had the zaps up and down her spine. She had a really bad headache, severe stomach pain.
If approved, Dr. Jeanette Neshawat will be our new Surgeon General. She was also pushing the masks, the deadly vaccines, and the censorship.
First of all, vaccines save lives, and I am so excited, and I thank and I commend Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg for taking action, and I hope and pray that other social media platforms will follow suit and do the same thing.
If you are fully vaccinated, then it is safe to go outside, to go hiking, biking, to enjoy outdoor dining, to be around other people who are unvaccinated without a mask. Now, that is if you are fully vaccinated. It's also important that if you start your 1st dose, you get your 2nd dose, because there's many who are not making the appointments for their 2nd doses, and you will not get that 94-95% safety and efficacy if you don't get both doses.
Now, over 3 decades, I've been involved as a clinical investigator, doing original research on my own protocols, or being someone who's been elevated to a steering committee or an executive committee or overall principal investigator. What you've just described, that's a sudden, unexpected, serious adverse reaction. Everybody, within 24 hours, every single institutional review board, the sponsor, all the investigators, everybody has to be made aware because it was not expected.
She went to the ER 9 times and was hospitalized 3 times for a total of 63 days. Maddie experienced over 35 adverse events. In the EUA amendment, Maddie's adverse reaction was reduced to 5 lines that they claim was eventually diagnosed as functional abdominal pain. It's a stomach ache. Does your child, when they have a stomach ache, does that put your child in a wheelchair? Does your child's stomach ache require a feeding tube?
I've got a quick question. Obviously, we invited the CEO from Pfizer or some representative of Pfizer. Nobody showed up. Pfizer has to be aware of you. Have they reached out to you?
Neither Pfizer, the FDA, or the CDC has ever talked to us or attempted to. We have never heard anything from them. I just don't know how you could let a child suffer and potentially die. You know, I just don't understand that.
You can go back to the very beginning of Operation Warp Speed. Trump's been pushing the vax the whole time. He even called himself the father of the vaccine.
And look, I guess in a certain way, I'm the father of the vaccine because I was the one that pushed it. I pushed the FDA like they have never been pushed before.
It shows you how unpainful that vaccine shot is, so everybody go get your shot. I recommend you take it.
People that do get it get better much quicker. That's a very important thing to know. They don't get nearly as sick, and they get better. Lindsey Graham's an example. He said, if I didn't have this vaccine, I would have died.
I recommend take the vaccines. I did it. It's good. Take the vaccines.
I think I saved many, I don't think, I know. I saved millions and millions of lives throughout the world.
We saved tens of millions of lives. Take credit. Don't let them take that away from you.
Okay, so the president made news.
Do you agree with that? Right?
Both the president and I are vaxxed, and did you get the booster?
Yes.
I got it too.
And just recently, on November 22nd, Trump wrote that Operation Warp Speed saved hundreds of millions of lives. There is no signs of justice for the millions murdered by the deadly shots. And if the nanotech in the shots is the interface between humans and AI world, then I would expect another fake pandemic and more shots. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Seeing this puts me in a real difficult spot. I want to get you all the truth and I want to get you all the facts. And Trump is an amazing guy who woke me up. And I've watched him do so many amazing things.
And I realized through Trump that I was wrong about the way I looked at the world. But now I'm looking at Trump that way and asking myself, am I wrong about him? Please just check out this quick video. Don't kill the messenger. Here at the Disclosure Hub, we just want to give you the facts. And this is a hard pill to swallow, and it's hard to watch. And I still don't know what I'm looking at. So just please comment below and give me your opinion.
First achievements was getting the vaccine done in 9 months instead of 5.5 to 12 years. But the problem is, we saved tens of millions of lives all over the world, but I can't talk about it because our base, our beautiful base of which some of you are there, you get angry when we mention the word vaccine. Don't get angry. We did it in 9 months, less than 9 months, right? Less than 9 months. And frankly, a lot of people are living today because of that. So I'll talk about it. I think the other side actually poisoned people on it because they want to try and take credit. Remember when Biden said, he didn't come up with a vaccine except he got a shot 2 months before he said that. They said, sir, you've already been given even his own side stopped him on that one. But we did a great job on that, and it's very important, and I'm very proud of it. Think of it, 9 months, we pushed the FDA. They hate me so much. They hate me. They cannot hate anybody as much as they hate me, but we had to get them to move, and we did. And worldwide, millions and millions, in this country, millions and millions of lives we obliterated.
I did think that if anything, in the small chance that if anything did happen, that's when you would want it to happen is in a trial, because then you're going to get the best care. I didn't think anything would happen, but in my mind, for all trials, that's how it is. That's not how it is. She was in the hospital for 3 days. They sent psychologists in, not a bunch of doctors. And they put the functional neurologic disorder diagnosis into her charts.
And what does that mean exactly?
That it's
In
the
your
way,
head.
yeah, in your head. It's a software problem, not a hardware problem, because they said they couldn't find anything wrong. Mind you, the only test that they had done was an MRI of her spine, which nobody has shown anything that's had a reaction. They didn't do a spinal tap. They didn't do an EMG. They didn't do a skin punch biopsy, even though she couldn't feel from her waist down. One night, her stomach it ballooned, huge. It ballooned up and she started vomiting really hard. We went to a local hospital and of course they saw the FND diagnosis in there and treated her like a crazy person. And they were literally belligerent.
He started screaming at me basically.
The mind games that they do on you are ridiculous. Me talking about what happened to my daughter is misinformation. How is that possible?
I don't know any other victim of any other crime or scenario where something goes wrong in your life where you're not allowed to talk about it.
How many times have you seen a vaccine injured or somebody that had a bad reaction on the news? They don't put it out there.
I've completely lost all my friends, about 20 or so people who abandoned me entirely over this last little over a year since I got my pulmonary embolism.
They convince you, if you don't believe the diagnosis, then she'll never get better.
I want you to put your hand up if you say yes to this question. I was not given adequate information about the potential risks of the vaccine.
Peter Attia, Peter. Yeah. Peter Attia was on here and he said, do you know what the safety profile of ivermectin is? And I said, no. And he goes, listen to this. He goes, ivermectin's been given out more than 4 billion times. And he goes, there's been less than 30 adverse reactions.
Has anyone seen the state of the world right now? We should all be a little pissed. We should all wake up and go, shit, they've been lying to us this whole time. Doctors are bought and paid for by big pharma. Now there's good ones out there, don't get me wrong. I don't hate on doctors. I love and appreciate them. I thank them for their service. But they need to wake the fuck up too. And they need to start standing up to the pharmaceutical industry and saying, no, we're not doing this way. They need to start their own practices, get out of centralized medicine and do their own thing, because we have been lied to about food, about the food pyramid, and it's all to control us. If you guys start going back and looking at some of these bullshit studies and what they're funded by, you follow the money right back to big pharma. And if you are well, they don't get your money. It's a slave system. So I want everyone to be free. I want everybody to be able to enjoy their grandkids, get down on the floor and play with them like you should, not be all crippled up and losing your mind at age 67 because you have Alzheimer's disease.
He predicted
towards the end of last century and the beginning of this century, there will be a movement driven by big corporations to take the soul away from people, to disconnect people from the higher world. And in order to do that, we have to destroy the pineal gland in people. And I followed the research on that, and amazingly what we found, the pineal gland is the most sensitive part of our central nervous system, and is highly, highly, highly sensitive to 4 things: aluminum, glyphosate, fluoride, and Wi-Fi. And we are the only country in the world that has pushed these 4 things in the last 60 years or so on everybody growing up here. And so what I feel, what I observe, and what we're also testing on our ART system is that people have severely calcified pineal glands. It is astounding that the telecommunications industry has selected the frequencies out of the huge spectrum of frequencies that are absolutely destructive to ourselves and especially to the pineal gland. You know, they couldn't have made any better choices than 2.4 gigahertz.
It would be illegal in some countries to be at this level where we're at. We're surrounded by EMF towers, radio frequency. There were over 200 different antennas transmitting off of those towers.
Why does EMF affect your brain?
It's the microtubule frequencies that get into a dysresonance. So the frequencies that are coming in that are bombarding into our cells, our microtubules were meant to be in a symphonic resonance, in a perfect state of resonance. And that's how we're able to have that normal, healthy function for neurotransmitter, communication, etc. And the reason why the EMFs will denature those microtubules and those frequencies is because it creates that dysresonance, and then the function is going to create a cascade, a ripple effect. So insomnia ensues, neurotransmitter dysfunction, we start to feel off, our mood starts to alter and change.
There's a good website called maprad.io, and you can put in your address and we'll show you all the towers around you.
It just started happening. I developed tinnitus, the ring in the ear, first at like in certain parts of the house, and I heard noises and voices, and I could not figure out, and then vibrations. These vibrations are experientially, it's like nothing else. There's no neurological disorder that feels like that. And I can tell you as a patient and as a physician, experientially, it is very distinct. Your whole body vibrates. Your head is heavy pressure. The sound is deafening. You get disoriented. Can't walk. Can't talk. It incapacitates you, and it can last from 10 minutes to 30 minutes to an hour and a half, and it's very painful. It's very uncomfortable, and it feels like concussion. After that, and you actually have symptoms of concussion, the movement of the eyes, nystagmus, and this is why some people give it the name immaculate concussion.
I mean, just to hear someone actually describe these unexplained health incidents, what transpires, somebody who never had these symptoms before suddenly comes on, no advance warning and no indication. I mean, concussion-like symptoms without a blow to the head. That's why they call this, that's why we're calling it the immaculate concussion. You know, it's hard to explain, but you hear from somebody who's a physician himself, goes to investigate, and develops that.
Okay, so why? I mean, do you get to the why or how or what's really going on?
I joined the Royal Navy in 1960, and I specialized in microwave warfare. Radar, obviously, which uses microwave, but they don't just teach you radar, they teach you all about microwaves and other uses. So I understood about microwave warfare and how it can damage people, how it can harm people. Microwaves then were used as weapons, as they are today. It is a perfect stealth weapon, and when governments don't like a group of people, For instance, the ladies who protest at Greenham Common in England about the American missile base they camped, they were microwaved. We microwaved Catholics in Northern Ireland to make them sick. It goes on all over the world. And it's a weapon that you don't know you're being targeted, because the dose is very, very low, which is actually more dangerous than a high dose. It's very, very low, and it may take a year or two, but you can cause neurological damage and cancers with low-level microwaves, and you can make all your opponents sick. It's a perfect weapon for a government.
Next time you drive around looking at all these towers, understand that they're there to instantly quell us when we rebel, when they decide to do something that crosses that line, which means you've had enough. When things go down, those should be the first things you're looking at. Just go watch occultcat.com and see for yourself what they do.
I want to thank you all for being here to discuss a critical issue for our country's future. Winning the race to be the world's leading provider of 5G cellular communications networks. It's all about 5G now. We were 4G and everybody was saying we have to get 4G. And then they said, before that, we have to get 3G. And now we have to get 5G, and 5G is a big deal, and that's going to be there for a while. And I guess at some point we'll be talking to you about number 6. What do you think? Do you think that's true, AJ?
And then here, in terms of bio-nano things, these are for the health applications. I did also a lot of research on that the last 15 years. Bio-nano scale machines, but these are for the injecting into the body and always monitoring the health problems. And that is also really going really well, like with these COVID vaccines. It's going that direction. These mRNAs are nothing but small-scale, nanoscale machines, right? They're programmed and they're injected. And then into other nanoscale things. So those will be part of 7G and beyond, right?
But right now, we want to be the leader in this. We're the leader in almost everything else. And we're grateful to be joined by FCC Chairman Ajit Pai, who's been doing a fantastic job, and Deputy Secretary of Agriculture, Stephen Sensky. Thank you very much, Stephen. Appreciate it. And tell Sonny hello. He's doing a tremendous job. Really tremendous. Secure 5G networks will absolutely be a vital link to America's prosperity and national security in the 21st century. 5G will be as much as 100 times faster than the current 4G cellular networks. It will transform the way our citizens work, learn, communicate, and travel. It will make American farms more productive, American manufacturing more competitive, and American healthcare better and more accessible. Basically, it covers almost everything when you get right down to it. Pretty amazing. And just as 4G networks paved the way for smartphones and all of the exciting breakthroughs, they made possible so many things. This will be more secure and resilient. 5G networks will also create astonishing and really thrilling new opportunities for our people. Opportunities that we've never even thought we had a possibility of looking at. We cannot allow any other country to outcompete the United States in this powerful industry of the future. We are leading by so much in so many different industries of that type, and we just can't let that happen. The race to 5G is a race America must win, and it's a race, frankly, that our great companies are now involved in. We've given them the incentive they need. It's a race that we will win. In the United States, our approach is private sector driven and private sector led. The government doesn't have to spend lots of money. According to some estimates, the wireless industry plans to invest $275 billion in 5G networks, creating 3 million American jobs quickly, very quickly, and adding $500 billion to our economy. And as you probably heard, we had another alternative of doing it. That would be through government investment and leading through the government. We don't want to do that because it won't be nearly as good, nearly as fast, and especially in that business, I think that they'll be better doing the job than a lot of the folks that we know and love. To accelerate and incentivize these investments, my administration is focused on freeing up as much wireless spectrum as needed. We're going to free it up so they'll be able to get out there and get it done, and removing regulatory barriers to the build-out of networks. As Chairman Pai we'll discuss with you in a moment, the FCC is taking very bold action, probably bolder than they've ever taken before. It's a new frontier to make wireless spectrum available. By next year, the United States is on pace to have more 5G spectrum than any other country in the world. That's a big statement because, as you know, some people got ahead of us. We should have been doing this a long time ago, as advanced as it may be. In addition, last October, I directed the Department of Commerce to develop a national spectrum strategy to free up even more spectrum for economic activity, including 5G. The FCC has also taken action to streamline the permitting process for 5G infrastructure with state and local governments. That's a big deal. It takes too long to get permits. We're going to free that situation up, and we're going to put limits, and the local areas are going to listen to us very, very strongly. They have a big incentive to do that.
About an hour from now, a pizza box-sized small cell will be installed on this corner. Then the crew will drive away. And the families that live here will immediately enjoy enhanced connectivity without noticing the new addition. Because Americans are using more data than ever before, and small cells help meet that demand. They're also a vital part of our 5G future. A future that's 100 times faster, connects 100 times more devices, and is 5 times more responsive. A future with driverless cars, drone delivery, smart communities, and breakthrough advancements in healthcare, energy, and public safety. 5G will create millions of new jobs, and America's wireless industry is ready to invest billions, but current policies are delaying this investment. Even though small cells can be deployed in an hour or two, approval for their installation can take more than a year. That's because small cells fall under the same rules designed for those 200-foot towers. Deploying this new infrastructure is essential if Americans want to win the race to 5G. We need new rules for new technology, greater access to municipal facilities such as light poles, and reasonable fees for new deployments. 5G will generate $500 billion in new economic growth, but it won't happen without new policies and regulations. We're ready to make 5G a reality. Are you?
They must now approve new physical infrastructure within 90 days instead of many years. It can sometimes take 3, 4, and 5 years. We're going to put a limit of 90 days. And there is now a cap on the unreasonable fees local governments often charge. They get greedy. They think, hey, we can really take advantage, and it ends up that everybody gets hurt. So we're putting a cap on those fees. These changes will contribute greatly to building high-speed networks across America, and it's going to happen very quickly, very, very quickly. By the end of this year, the United States will have 92 5G deployments in markets nationwide. The next nearest country, South Korea, will have 48. So we have 92 compared to 48, and we're going to accelerate that pace greatly. But we must not rest. The race is far from over. American companies must lead the world in cellular technology. 5G networks must be secure. They must be strong. They have to be guarded from the enemy. We do have enemies out there, and they will be. They must also cover every community, and they must be deployed as soon as possible.
On his first day in office, he announced a Stargate.
Announcing the formation of Stargate.
I don't know if you noticed, but he even talked about using an executive order because of an emergency declaration.
Design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer.
I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built.
And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours. This is the promise of AI and the promise of the future.
This is the beginning of golden age.
As we know, emergency declarations can be used to do just about anything they want. In fact, that's pretty much the pattern. There's an emergency, and we have to take drastic measures to do whatever we want to you. Now, I didn't know there was an emergency right now, but apparently there is, because the Anointed One has told us. And as we know, the obvious solution to any emergency is the V word, which I don't think I'm allowed to say, but Larry Ellison is allowed to say it.
But the result of the investment will be vaccines that prevent cancers, personalized medicine, where we never again run into a problem like COVID-19 before, because we get an early warning. We know when COVID starts, when there are a handful of patients, rather than having to wait until it's become an epidemic and very difficult to control.
So it looks like the application of this emergency declaration investment will be creation of new V word. So Operation Warp Speed seems to have gone into hyperdrive.
If you remember that really creepy video that was put out called Ghosts in the Machine, that was put together by a group that is called the U.S. Army Special Forces. It was from the 4th PSYOP group, and that's Army Special Forces Information Operations. If you watch the video to the end, and it's 3.5 minutes long, they put the website, goarmysof.com. They're not trying to hide it, and some of the text that runs during that video, you'll find us in the shadows. Warfare is evolving. All the world a stage. We come in many forms. We are everywhere. I get freaked out when I see that. That didn't strike me as a threat to other countries. I took that as a domestic threat, that the psychological warfare was going to intensify until morale improved.
Here's something really kind of weird.
I'm begging for it.
There's a group of people that built an exact replica of the Ark of the Covenant. It took them 3 years to make. The chief architect chooses to remain anonymous. They put the Torah, which is the Hebrew Bible, in the Ark of the Covenant. They just did that. And he said, quote, when that Torah was put in this Ark, it became weaponized. But then he says, there is going to be a force that is absolutely so powerful that it's going to be something we've seen in the movies, but for good. Do you know where this replica of the Ark of the Covenant was for 8 months before they brought it to Israel?
Antarctica.
Trump's house. Mar-a-Lago. It was in Trump's house for 8 months before it was brought to Israel. Why was it there?
I think he's religious, though.
We don't know. Just looking at face value, that's strange.
Oh, that's 100%. That's the only
and they're
reason we
talking
care
about
this.
oh, it's weaponized. Now, the things that are going to happen with this Ark of the Covenant, it's going to be like the movies of the power that it's going to bring. And it's like, oh, where was it before it came to Israel? It was in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
This is one of the weirdest things I've come across. There was this prophecy of a Hopi chief. This prophecy goes back to before the white man was in America. He had this whole sketch. They didn't have a written language, but he predicted really crazy stuff. He said there's this separation at the end of this drawing. It could either be chaos or it could be the coming of the Great Spirit again. It boiled down to one individual. It is known that our true white brother, when he comes, will be all-powerful and will wear a red cap or a red cloak. He will bring with him the sacred stone tablets. With him, there will be 2 great ones. One will have the symbol. It looked like it just an X. Yeah. And when I read that, just chills went down. He mentioned that the man with the X symbol. He said he will be a man of great invention.
I'm just now understanding the X reference. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
When it talked about the sacred tablets, that was
we talked about the Mar-a-Lago.
We talked about the Mar-a-Lago Ark of the Covenant thing. It's just weird.
Yeah.
Then the third one that will finally bring about purification of this land in this continent would be a man with red cap, red hat, or red cloak. Now, we do not know who that nation is or what people, but they say those people will have a large population and they will also have much scientific inventions of all type. Very powerful nation going to be. So once he start moving, these others too will join him with all their power and might. The 3 of them going to come here quickly together, and nothing can stop them. This time they're going to come right here. They say even they're going to come here so fast they come here for breakfast. Now this is nice clear day today, calm, everything, nice. Tomorrow morning maybe we get up at breakfast time, then the whole sky will be darkened. Old man said, I don't know what will cause the darkening of the sky. Then he said people will be raining from the sky. And in one day they're going to get control of this whole continent. and they're going to cut us up into 4 sections.
But what is this as big as it sounds?
I think it potentially is. I mean, it's very early days. So basically, they've discovered that if they use the same technology that they use for COVID, and they use some mRNA, which is a messenger part of DNA, they take your particular cancer, they biopsy it, they take some of the protein on your cancer, and they put it back into your cells.
How many people have you treated so far?
Well, we've had 10,009 clinical trials in humans. So.
And how many are cancer-free?
10,009.
So you have actually cured cancer?
Yes, yes. Yes, we have.
Subject is female, likely 18 to 20 years of age. Dilated push only sedates effectively at 6 times human dose. Core temperature 106 Fahrenheit, pulse 200 BPM, respiration elevated, PaO2 300% of normal.
Have you guys noticed that they're changing a lot of the street lights to be black lights?
Melissa Strickler, the Pfizer whistleblower from Project Veritas. Here is my work badge. At work, wearing that badge. Here is the backside to show that it is Pfizer property, and my CDA sticker, which proves that I can deal with controlled drugs. This is what they were advertising the vaccine looked like. And here's a really clear image to show you how clear it is. But oop, it goes over to the black side. Same table, same light, same surroundings, same vial. And it changes when it goes in front of the black background. And here is the hokey pokey that they are mandating to people. Notice anything funny about that solution? It's glowing. And here is a picture of the containers that the product was shipped out in. Do your own homework on it.
You there! Ogre! Aye. By the order of Lord Farquaad, I am authorized to place you both under arrest and transport you to a designated resettlement facility.
Oh, really? You in what army?
God didn't do this, Hannah. We did. 6 billion people on Earth when the infection hit. KV had a 90% kill rate. That's 5.4 billion people dead. Less than 1% immunity. It left 12 million healthy people like you, me, and Ethan. The other 588 million turned into your dark seekers. And then they got hungry and they killed and fed on everybody. Everybody. Every single person that you or I has ever known is dead! Dead!
Oh, nut. That's what they're going to end with the whole Code Red thing. And I know you guys are smart enough to know what Code Red is. It's why we've been on lockdown for over 2 years. We're going to end with the Omega. You know, you see how they went from the Delta, the Omicron, and it'll end with the Omega, which if you watch I Am Legend,
right,
or Omega virus, and remember, they got it from the Cure, not the virus that turned them into some super soldier zombies. Well, Clade X, did you ever hear of that?
No, what's that?
Okay, so Clade X was the first simulation before Event 201, okay? You can look it up, guys. Clade X. 666 days after that, boom, the pandemic takes off on 3/11.
Design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer.
Well, what about the 1p36 gene deletion? So if you look at the post-marketing experience of Pfizer, they listed 1,291 separate maladies that were serious adverse events of special interest. The 1p36 gene deletion is a congenital disease, meaning you're born with it. And yet that was the #1 serious adverse event. And if you look up the symptomology for that, it's the elimination of your frontal cortex. Your thinking part of your brain, your decision-making part of your brain is the #1 serious adverse event listed by Pfizer. When they broadcast an 18 gigahertz signal for 1 minute, 3 different times as a pulse, It will cause those lipid nanoparticles to swell and release these pathogenic contents, thereby causing a Marburg epidemic that they've already spent the money on. It's already done, right? The Marburg epidemic, for purposes of the law, has happened, and now we just need the actual disaster to happen. And there's actually worse parts to it than that, including the 1p36 gene deletion that effectively will turn those poor people into zombies. As odd as that sounds, our government's preparing for that.
But the FEMA have already put out zombie commercials and CONOPS on that, correct?
That's correct. If you look at Con Plan 8888, Stratcom put that out in 2011. On page 2, they say, "Oh, this is just for examples, just for demonstration. Don't worry about it, so we don't offend other countries." The problem with that is, you look through that Con Plan, it's all about 5 different types of zombies. There isn't anything in there about opposition forces. There isn't anything about winning political battles or counterinsurgencies. It is only about a zombie apocalypse, defending it. And you will see that every NIMS compliant, practically, agency, or whether that's state, local, or federal, has already had their zombie apocalypse preparedness training. They've already done their practice.
What are you going to do? I got you together. All right. You know what kind of knife you're going to use? That's not so you don't fall down. Fuck it. Anybody have anything to add?
The CDC has had a zombie apocalypse preparedness website up for the last 5 years now. They've reduced it to a PDF cartoon. Even in the Amazon Web Services contract, the force majeure clause, I believe it's Article 41, states that we're not liable for damages in case there's a zombie apocalypse.
A theology professor named Pierre Gilbert warned of mandatory vaccines that would turn recipients into zombies. And these vaccines will make possible to control people. The vaccines will have liquid crystals that will become hosted in the brain cells, which will become micro receivers of electromagnetic fields, where waves of very low frequencies will be sent.
This is the beginning of golden age.
You know that UN passports are impossible to fake?
This is not a fake. Injected in your neck when you pass the official border. This is your new life. Clean credit. John Doe.
What's the catch?
What's wrong?
It's a missile linked to my passport!
How can you stop it?
Only by death.
COVID-19 doesn't exist. What does COVID-19 stand for?
A certificate of vaccination ID.
What does 19 stand for?
What, actually?
It stands for AI, artificial intelligence.
Wow, 1 in 9!
We were the provider, and we had the copyright.
You see, 20 years ago, I was drummed out of the medical profession for trying to implant human babies with artificial intelligence. Around that time, the no-lights came to me with an unusual offer. They wanted me to do exactly what the rest of the world was scared of, that is, to create a supernatural human being with a complete knowledge of the world imprinted in her memory. So, I built a supercomputer to be Aurora's artificial mother. As a fetus, Aurora learned to process information, just like a computer.
Carl, is that you?
Я не повторяю 2 раза. Вставай.
I thought you were in Sudan killing babies.
Заткнись.
Who would hire a baby killer to get me? Know the difference between you and me, Carl?
Save the planet.
One child at a time. Ain't that a bitch?
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
In a movie like Zoolander, when they're showing you that they're controlling Derek Zoolander's mind through mind control, you realize that they're trying to desensitize you and to make you think that what you're watching is fiction because it's in a comedy.
It's like a mass MK Ultra now. Their purpose is to capture the minds of the people and feed them false history.
Did you mention that Bill Gates' dad was at one point head or involved in the Federal Reserve?
Yeah, he was in charge of the Washington State Federal Reserve. And he also established Planned Parenthood. So he was like...
Bill Gates' dad?
Bill Gates' dad.
Whoa.
The biggest Federal Reserve is New York Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
The most powerful of all of them.
Yeah.
But the Federal Reserve in Washington State is very powerful as well, and he ran that. And the whole story of Bill Gates is like you get into these billionaires, it's all LARPs and lies, and you study like Jeff Bezos, and like he's the hardest working guy. He worked so hard. He just got it in his garage and never stopped. And you're like, and his grandpa established DARPA. He created the U.S. Government's Department of DARPA, where's all the crazy stuff comes out of.
His father?
Jeff Bezos' grandfather.
Bro.
Jeff Bezos came, Bill Gates came, Mark Zuckerberg came. Many of them came numerous times. The bankers have all come. Everybody's coming.
Have you met with Donald Trump?
Citizens and
Met with Donald Trump since the election?
Yeah, I had a chance to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him.
What did you discuss? What was intriguing?
Well, we touched on a lot of things. It was over 3 hours. To my surprise, it was, just he and I, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and the person who helps manage things for me, Larry Cohen. So the four of us sat there, and it was quite wide-ranging. Global health's the area that I work in, and such amazing things have happened and can happen there. I spoke a lot about HIV and that the foundation's literally working on a cure for that. We're at an early stage, and so he, in the COVID days, accelerated the vaccine innovation. So I, was asking him if maybe the same kind of thing could be done here, and we both got, I think, pretty excited about that. We talked about polio, where we're very close to getting that done, but if you stop, it'll spread back. And so I explained why it's been tough in Pakistan, Afghanistan. We've had cases show up in Gaza. We have cases in Africa. And he was fascinated to hear what he could do to maximize the chance that during the next 4 years, that incredible milestone will be achieved. I felt like he was, energized and, looking forward to helping to drive innovation. I was frankly impressed with how well he showed a lot of interest in the issues I brought up.
You know what they want? They want obedient workers. Obedient workers. People who are just smart enough to run the machines and do the paperwork and just dumb enough to passively accept all these increasingly shittier jobs with the lower pay, the longer hours, the reduced benefits, the end of overtime, and the vanishing pension that disappears the minute you go to collect it. And now they're coming for your Social Security money. They want your fucking retirement money. They want it back so they can give it to their criminal friends on Wall Street. And you know something? They'll get it. They'll get it all from you sooner or later because they own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it. You and I are not in the big club. By the way, it's the same big club they used to beat you over the head with all day long when they tell you what to believe. All day long, beating you over the head in their media, telling you what to believe, what to think, and what to buy. The table is tilted, folks. The game is rigged. And nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care.
Don't exist. So they're all characters that I played, including Jim Carrey, including Joel Barish, including any of those things. They're all characters. Jim Carrey was a less intentional character because I thought I was just building something that people would like, but it was a character. I played the guy that was free from concern so that people who watched me would be free from concern.
Is the Illuminati. Even none of that shit. I don't think none of that shit. Especially the Illuminati shit is only us. Like, you know, how are we not benefiting from it?
Crazy.
If we're supposed to be running this whole thing, how the fuck I get stopped by the cops the other day? Can the Illuminati come tell them get off my ass?
You know what the #1 job of somebody that sold their soul in Hollywood is?
What?
Is to act like it didn't happen. They all do the same job.
God runs the world. Then under that, you got 1,000-year-old family, Medici. Under that, you have the Vatican, Pope. Under that, you have the financial group that control all your shit. BlackRock, Vanguard. After that, you have Putin. You have Trump. You have all this shit. And after that, you got what all this shit is. Entertainment. Hollywood.
Entertainment. Mind control.
Run that back. Run it in schools.
You just broke it down.
8 billion people are being controlled by 100 families. Who are these families? These are the elite oligarchs that control the planet. They literally run us. They tell us what to do, hear, see, smell, taste, touch, feel, where we can go, where we can't go. They're running us. The governments are put in place to work for the people, but they got it flipped and they got us working for them. Right. And telling us what they're going to do to us if we don't listen to them. That's the opposite of what it's supposed to be. The reason why the world it is today, or why we have this boot on our neck, it's because of us. We're the problem. They're sharks. A shark smells blood, a shark attacks. Right. A shark is going to be a shark. How come we as 8 billion people haven't stopped falling for these divide and conquer tactics and stopped fighting each other over the scraps and realize who the real enemy is? While we're fighting each other, they're just cutting up the pie and laughing at us. Left wing, right wing, all the same bird. There's no such thing as a Democrat or Republican. The only thing that does exist, like I say, is a group of elite oligarchs that torture men, women, and children worldwide. That exists. Democrat, Republican doesn't exist.
There's no Batman coming to save us. So when are we gonna wake up, left and right, and say there's something wrong here? But they got you an ideology. They think that you're gonna make abortion illegal and that they're gonna try to make your kids gay, and they got you two going at it while they fuck all of us. Yeah. You fuckers go at it. That's what's going on right now. That's the ideology that they have the lines drawn. And they play these strings. Meanwhile, these assholes are on Capitol Hill at the best restaurants in DC, flying on private jets, preaching to you about climate control while they're sipping down bottles of the most expensive wine paid for by their lobbies, while me and you don't even have enough fucking money to feed our families. That 2 packs of Doritos, I couldn't believe what groceries costed last week when I went to go buy groceries. I was looking, I said, yo, we are in Weimar, Germany, man. We are in the end of this nation if we don't wake the fuck
There's
up,
a book written by a guy, last name Kaufman, I'm blanking on the first name, where he said it's Germany must perish. Yeah. Like, they literally wanted to get rid of Anglo-Saxons. And so when you have that context and you're going, whoa, why was I never told about this book, which was published in America? He wrote a book about how they would have to just annihilate them, how they had to make them infertile, that they couldn't produce. And then you hear at the end of that war what was done to German-speaking civilians, and that should send a chill down your spine that you don't know it. That is what scares me, that we were never taught it, which means that we were specifically told an angle, and that angle has been protected for a very long time for a reason that must be evil, because lies can only be served to protect evil.
1920 is when everything pretty much changed. They started changing every single thing. They started removing certain parts of the history. They started rewriting the history. 1920s is about that time. Educational system. started changing everything. Rockefeller educational system started changing everything. So if you find books, you want to find books before 1920s. Because if you don't find books before 1920s, you're usually being told a bunch of nonsense. And you look at a lot of the free energy books too, and everything related to the ether, that's before 1920s. The ether was removed from the periodic table after 1908. 1908, that was removed off the periodic table. These are all terms of the Rockefeller educational system, coming up with terms to debunk the truth and debunk what we were once connected to. Then when you get rid of ether, you get rid of everything related to the fifth element and the quantum. You get rid of all of that. And then you make up a whole new narrative and you remove all that so that when you can't explain something, you just say, I don't know what it is.
Let me say on this fucking podcast all the time. Left wing, right wing, doesn't matter. The bird's always going to Israel.
The state of Israel is actually connected to America in a very arcane and secret way. So they are, the state of Israel is connected to the American federal system. It's very interesting. That's why America sends billions and billions and billions of dollars. All the valuable things in the world goes through Jerusalem. That's why it's the holy city. Now, we know that Israel is very important because of strategically where it sits on the trade routes to control the flow of oil, drugs, diamonds, and a lot of drugs in Israel, going through Israel. And diamonds, gold, money, etc., etc. But you've got to give the people who are going to go over there and lose their lives and give their sons in war, you've got to give them a reason. So we tell them that it's religious. It's the Lord's chosen people, the Lord's people. And the Lord himself has chosen Israel. And we give them a line. You'd be surprised what Americans love. They love that kind of stuff. And so we tell them, it's the Lord's will. And the Lord Jesus was there, and all the great prophets and all of that. And so we have to protect that little country, Israel, because it's the Lord's will.
טופי, אני מפחד. אני הלכתי על המים, אני הפכתי צרצרים לעוגה. אני לא ישו. זו טעות. אני משה רבנו. אל תגיעי במסמרים, טופי, לא.
זה רק אפקט, פחדן. שלום, הגעתי מתוכנית ההיסטוריה של טופי והגורילה. ובה נדבר על מאורעות מרכזיים בקורות העם היהודי, מאז ועד היום. היום נלמד על צליבת ישו. שמעת על ישו?
הוא נשמע אדם נחמד.
לא. ישו היה אויב העם היהודי. הוא ניסה להפוך את כולנו לנוצרים. אף שישנם נוצרים טובים, ההתבוללות היא סכנה נוראית, המאיימת על שלום העם היהודי.
אני רוצה להתבולל.
אתה יודע בכלל מה זה להתבולל? זה לקיים יחסי מין עם גויה. זה לא דבר שלא אני ולא אתה רוצים כמובן.
אני רוצה שהילדים שלי יאכלו טבלרון ויהיו גויים. משעמם לי כאן, טופי. אני רוצה לגור בשוויץ עם גויה ולאכול טבלרון כל היום.
טוב, שוקי. אם אתה כל כך אוהב את ישו, אז אתה תשחק את ישו. אני הוא יהודה איש קריות.
ואני ישו. אני רוצה שכולכם תהפכו לנוצרים ותאכלו חזיר וטבלרון ויהיה לכם כיף. אתם רוצים מצותים בבית?
בגלל זה אני אצלוב אותך. איך אתה מעז להטיף ליהודים התמימים?
אלוהים! למה עזבתני?
אתה נאצי ישו, אתה נאצי.
טופי, לא, טופי, אני מפחד. אני הלכתי על המים, אני הפכתי צרצרים לעוגה. אני לא ישו. זו טעות. אני משה רבנו. אל תגיעי במסמרים, טופי, לא.
זה רק אפקט, פחדן.
לא! טופי! אלוהים! לא!
אוי,
Every government in the world has a secret government behind it that run the show. If you think that the president, the prime minister, you think they're doing it, they're puppets. 100% puppets. They control armies, nations, governments, all the money in the world, all the richest families in the world, Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, and I can tell you already one thing, that anyone that somehow made money within a very short span of time has to be part of it. And you think that Mike Zuckerberg owns Facebook? He's a puppet. Facebook was created for their manipulation. Same thing with YouTube, same thing with WhatsApp and Instagram and Netflix and everything. How did Netflix become so big within 2 years? Only with the power of the ultimate endless money of the world. And it's much more than that. World War I was designed by them. World War II, designed by them. Federal Reserve, which people think belongs to the American government. Doesn't belong to the government even. It's a private organization. NASA, CIA, the assassination of JFK, who was the first one who ever talked about it, got a bullet in his head. Needless to say, the attack on the Twin Towers, it wasn't bin Laden. It was all one big agenda because they needed to go to Afghanistan. You know why? To put pipes in the sea. It's all one big show. We're being fooled and millions of Americans are cheering. We're going to a war against terror. No, you've been fooled. And you think it's different in Israel? You know that Israel was built by the Freemasons, by the way.
Were I a Jew, I would be a Zionist. And my father pointed out to me, I did not need to be a Jew to be a Zionist. For I am. Israel is essential to the security of Jews worldwide.
So allow me to conclude, my dear friend, President-elect Biden, with the same blessing I gave you 6 years ago when you first publicly declared me your rabbi.
What?
I'm proud of that.
Rabbi.
At that Jewish New Year celebration, I offered you a blessing. You enthusiastically said yes.
What?
You lowered your head reverently.
I thought you were a Catholic, Joey.
I laid my hands on your forehead.
Joey, you switched tribes?
Of the numbers, I blessed you with the following.
Oh. Look at this.
Uh-huh.
Oh, what the fuck is going on here?
Bless you and keep you.
Oh. Oh.
May God cause his face to shine upon
look at
you,
that.
be gracious to you.
Ooh.
That Israel was built by the Freemasons, by the way, by the Zionists. There's nothing here kosher. Who approved? Who approved the Declaration of Israel? The United Nations, of course. An organization of peace and unity, and we love all. It's a terror organization built by the New World Order. And they approved the Declaration of Eretz Israel. All the founders of the country of Israel are Freemasons.